Senator Linda Higgins, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Senator, you've served your district as its senator for roughly 16 years. What was the impetus for this decision to step down?
Well, this is not a job for life. This is a job where, if you're lucky, you get to do your community service, your public service, and help your community in the best way that you can. And then when the time is right, then you hand it off to the next person. You put a big old smile on your face and hope they don't dismantle everything that you did while you were here. But it's one of the things that you're privileged to do, but it isn't something that you should think about doing until forever.
Some of your accomplishments include your work as an advocate for the environment and consumer protection issues. You sponsored legislation targeting predatory lenders and foreclosure prevention. You are also a negotiator for the Twin Stadium. Highlight some of the legislation that you're most proud of.
We passed some groundbreaking legislation that I carried, our electronic waste recycling bill. One of the first states in the nation to do that. We were one of the first states in the nation to ban phosphorus in our lawn fertilizer so that our lakes won't green up so early in the year from the effects of the runoff. And then I carried a bill that was actually seemed like a fairly modest bill at the time, but has had some really long-armed reach. And that was a bill that we put together that said that if you're in trouble and you go into the court system, somebody has to ask you whether you're a veteran. And if the answer is yes, if the possibility exists to divert you into veteran services, that be done. So many times we're finding that our soldiers are coming back and they're still having trouble with PTSD and adjusting to their new life as a warrior back to a citizen. And if they get into trouble, sometimes there are factors that make a difference that should be worked on. So, that along with the work putting together the veterans courts, a lot of people, Julie Rosen and others, really worked hard to get that done. So we're getting together a process there. But the thing that was interesting about that little bill that I did was the Supreme Court 3 or 4 years ago actually cited it in their decision to overturn a death penalty case in Florida. And they said that every state should have a law like this because our people who go to other countries and serve our country, and when they come back, we should treat them with the respect that they have, and one of those things is to help them when they get in trouble like this. So that was very cool. The Supreme Court cited a Minnesota case.
And speaking of respect, you are highly respected here in the Senate. And Minority Leader Tom Bach issued a statement shortly after you announced your retirement. He said, Linda's been one of the strongest and most effective legislators in recent memory. So what would you consider your greatest challenge?
It's always a challenge to figure out how to get 34 votes to get something passed. If you just rely on your own political party caucus, sometimes you miss out the opportunity to have a broad base of approval and support, which then makes it harder for your bill to be accepted in the greater community. These days, being in the minority, I've had a real hard time. It's really hard to go from being a committee chair. I was in charge of a $2 billion budget, and then being in the minority, where I lost that responsibility, and that's a real hard time. I have newfound respect for House members because the House of Representatives goes back and forth in who controls that body more often, and I have a little more respect for people who can figure out that the differing roles depending on the circumstance.
And given that, regardless of whether the person who wins your seat is a Republican or a Democrat, what would your advice to that person be?
I think it should be to make friends, make working relationships with people who are here. We're here 18 hours a day, especially this time of year, and it goes a lot your legislation is better and the work that you do is a better product if you can make a working relationship with a lot of people from both sides of the aisle, and the other folks who are here working at the Capitol as well. Our staff are second to none. Get to know them, get to find out what their specialties are, and then ask them for help when you need it.
And you're not intending on leaving public office per se. You haven't stated your intention to run for Hennepin County Board. So what do you hope to take from here that you can bring into that position if you win that seat?
Well, state government and county government are partners in so many things. Take, for example, healthcare policy. The legislature passes healthcare policy for the entire state, but it's our counties that actually implement that. I'm a real detail kind of person, as anybody who sits in committee will tell you, annoyingly so many times. And I'm looking forward to being on the ground floor of implementing health care, transit and transportation, and so many of the other things that the county takes the lead on.
Senator, my last question for you is, this is your opportunity to speak to your constituents. What would you like to say?
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to the constituents who gave me the honor of being elected 5 times. North Minneapolis, North Loop, and downtown Minneapolis has some of the greatest people you'll ever meet. We have some challenges. We have some big problems that we need to work on, but we also have great strength and great character, and we're a lot of fun. So thank you for letting me be the senator, and treat the next senator as nicely as you've treated me.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Senator Higgins.
Thank you.